Here's our CougarBoard question of the week. And if you're not familiar with CougarBoard, it's the largest online community, we'll call it, of BYU fans. Thousands of posts every day. They've got plenty of opinions going on there of all the latest stuff. This question comes from Curdy, and she's one of their insider subscribers. What is your favorite BYU sports broadcasting moment? As you say that, Chicago checks in on the stream. A little late, but better than late than never.
That's right.
So thank you for being with us. Cubs are taking one on the chin, so we're glad you came to us for a little bit of that.
Bored watching that.
Your favorite BYU sports moment?
Broadcasting moment, huh?
Yeah.
Everybody knows my playing moment, but let's think about sportscasting moment. Man, there's two. I'm going to mention two. Okay. Can I do two, Dave?
Yeah, you can do two.
I called the Miami game in the stadium with Jay Monson, and that was like an electricity that I've never felt before or since in that stadium that night. And to watch Ty Detmer and that team take down probably the best team that BYU's ever beaten, if you think about it, that was a really, really special broadcasting moment. And then, remember, I was on the NBC/Versus/Mountain Package, Jimmer's amazing year when Kawhi was at San Diego State and Jimmer was. And I might, if I had to pick out, and San Diego State games were great. The tournament was great. But probably my favorite game I called was BYU at Utah when Jimmer went for 33 in the first half and made a half-court shot to end the first half. He was just out of his mind and just silenced the crowd. It was like nobody was there, even though there were a bunch of people there. That would maybe be my favorite basketball game that I've called, was the BYU-Utah game up there.
I think, and this was a hard one, I think my favorite BYU sports broadcasting moment was 2013. BYU's playing Texas at the stadium. Big storm comes in, blows our pregame show off.
I forgot about that.
The set. So you and I are up in the booth, and we just sit down, and we were on the air for 2 hours. Jimmer came in. The head of the stadium drainage system came in. Kevin Eubank joined us from Salt Lake with the weather, and we really sat there and rode the storm out live on BYU TV. And then we called the game, and Taysom ran for 259 yards and 3 touchdowns. BYU beat Texas. They were nationally ranked. The next poll came out. BYU was nationally ranked. Texas was out. That was one of the longest nights that we had been on the air. And it was just so nuts.
It was crazy.
And it was cool to be a part of. And when we left, we were exhausted. I think we'd been on the air for 7 hours or something like that. And BYU had just beaten Texas senseless.
Yeah.
That was one of the craziest nights. There've been a lot, but I think that
was a fun one. I completely forgot about that. That was wild. And when we were done, we just took a deep breath and we just said, wow, that was something that we just survived that.
And Alema was bugged because his Italian suit got wrecked in that
That's
rain.
right.
So thanks for that question.
That's a great question.